When I stepped inside the house, my mother's eyes were red from tears, and my father stood stiff, his hands trembling slightly. In the middle of the living room, inside the seaside home I had gifted my parents for their 50th anniversary, stood my sister's husband, acting like a king in a castle. He pointed at my father as if talking to a stranger. "This is my house now. Leave," he said, voice dripping with entitlement. My father gripped the back of a chair, clinging to what little pride he had left. My mother whispered, barely audible, "Please, not again." I walked further into the room. Silence followed. My brother-in-law's confident smirk faltered, and my sister stared at me, shocked. I wasn't supposed to be there. They never imagined I'd come that weekend. I remembered when I first met him, Mark. He was charming, too charming. He had that way of shaking your hand with both hands, smiling as though he had no dark corners. Hannah, my sister, lit up around him. After years of disappointment and failed attempts at success, she believed she finally found stability. I wanted to believe it too. So I helped them. I paid for their first house, gave him money for his business quietly. Peace mattered more to me than recognition. Only later did I see the truth. He was always circling money, never love. The first warning sign came from the property documents I had originally sent to my parents. When they showed me a copy, the signature seemed slightly off, darker in places. Then the bank called, asking why a title transfer hadn't been completed. Title transfer? To whom? The answer came, Hannah. When I questioned her, she acted confused. Her voice was calm, too calm, but she slipped when she mentioned renovation plans Mark had already drawn up for a house they didn't legally own. That's when everything clicked. Mark had forged my parents' signatures to claim ownership of the house. He had convinced Hannah that it was just a family transfer to reduce taxes, and she had signed without thinking. My parents, trusting their daughter and wanting no conflict, believed what they were told. By the time I pieced everything together, Mark had already filed for ownership, but he overlooked one crucial detail. The house was held under a living trust connected to my personal account. He had used the wrong deed number. I didn't blow up. Revenge requires patience. I contacted my lawyer quietly. We built the case meticulously. The trust stated nothing could be transferred without my notarized approval. What he did wasn't just betrayal. It was a crime. But I didn't want to send him to jail yet. I wanted him to drown in his own arrogance first. So I played along. I even congratulated them with flowers when they moved in. They hosted gatherings, shared photos online, calling it the new family legacy. And I waited. When my parents' 50th anniversary came, I told them to let Hannah and Mark host it at the mansion. I asked them for one thing. Trust me. The day of the celebration arrived. The ocean breeze carried both salt and tension. Mark had invited important people, investors, friends, people he wanted to impress. The moment I walked in, conversation halted. His face stiffened. "You weren't supposed to be, no," I said. I placed a black folder on the counter. My lawyer stood behind me silently. "These are the original trust documents," I said, opening it. "With every falsified signature, money trail, and document you filed." His face drained of color. My sister covered her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. I slid another paper toward him. "Effective immediately, you're a trespasser. Police are already on their way. Unless you prefer to hand over the keys quietly." He looked around, at the guests, at Hannah, at my mother still holding her handkerchief. Everything he'd built on lies was crumbling. Police arrived. They didn't need an explanation, just my signature. They escorted him out. He shouted, "You'll regret this." I gave him a small smile. "I already did. That's why it's over." After he was gone, Hannah broke down. "I didn't know," she repeated over and over. Maybe she didn't, but silence can be betrayal too. I left her a symbolic key, not the real one. "Get your own place," I told her. "Earn it." I transferred full ownership of the house back to my parents. No trust this time. They deserve simplicity, not legal shields. The next morning, I visited. My father sat on the porch watching the sunrise. He said softly, "You didn't just save our home. You saved our dignity." I didn't answer. Some victories don't need words. I walked to the edge of the deck, let the cold sea breeze hit my face, and watched the waves crash, violent, pure, unstoppable. That's the thing about betrayal. It teaches you not to react, but to plan. I didn't ruin him out of anger. I did it because he mistook kindness for weakness, and he will never make that mistake again.